Hi, welcome to Conversations with Mothers Raising Boys.
Another email I received is a little bit more of a touchy email. So it says, my sister is dying of cancer. I have a 5 and 8-year-old boy. How should I handle this? When I was a little girl, my grandmother died, and I didn't go to the funeral. My parents didn't let me go to the funeral, and I was like 8 years old, and so I always had regretted, or I'd always wished that I had been able to go. And I don't think I had the same, I was very close to my grandmother, so I think I may have needed that for closure, because she was taken to the hospital and then kind of whisked away, and I never saw her again, so I really never was able to say goodbye. If my parents or someone close to me in my family were to die or was ill, I definitely would want to share it with my kids, especially if they were close, so that they could sort of, I guess, respect the situation, understand what's going on, and if there becomes a loss, then I think children need to be able to handle, have an opportunity to cope with that.
What's the right age though?
But that's the question, what's the right age? I guess maybe, I don't know, I think maybe
My
5.
parents did the same thing. With 2 of my grandparents that died when I was young, in middle school. But their reason was they wanted me to remember them the way they were when they were alive and not as I would see them at the funeral home. I was upset about it then.
Right.
Now I kind of get it because I do, like, those are my memories of them because I don't
Right.
have many. I think when you're older and you can kind of separate their life from the way you might see them lying there, passed away, but when you're younger, it might stick with you the wrong way.
They wanted me to remember her healthy and happy,
Right, yeah.
and sliding down the stairs on our
Mhm.
butts, but not in a sick grandma. So I know that they had really good intentions, but I think that they may have overlooked the need for even a young child to have closure.
Every 3-year-old is different, so see what level they're at and
Right.
hear what they have to say about it. But I don't understand why a 3, 5, 7, 9-year-old couldn't go to a funeral. We think that we know what they need best, and I think that they can figure out what they need best. So going to a funeral closure, absolutely. I don't understand. It's hard for me to understand what's going on until I've been at the funeral and it's done, and okay, I get it now. So they may not get it 100%, but they need to see people crying too. That's life.
Right.
I don't understand why you wouldn't allow them to go to a funeral.
My husband's mother recently passed away, and I chose to take my 6-year-old and my 9-year-old to the funeral and to the viewing. And it was very difficult for me because to see them cry like that made it that much worse for me. Because instead of it being about just me dealing with the loss, it was about me and then having to deal with them and sharing in their feelings and all that. So it was difficult, actually, probably more so for myself and my husband. But I don't regret doing that. They asked questions. It was a good thing. They still talk about it. And actually, something that was funny that happened was that we had an opportunity to get some ladybugs that someone had grown. They got the little eggs that had hatched, and they had a big thing of ladybugs. So we chose after the funeral to take those ladybugs to Grandma's garden and let them go. So now every time they see a ladybug, they think of Grandma. And so that was a really nice way of remembering her. They will probably always remember that. So whether it be a ladybug or a butterfly or something, I think putting some kind of little token or meaning onto that person who's no longer here, I think is a nice way of celebrating their life and just keeping the memory and the good things alive.
It upset you more than it upset the kids being there, kind of thing. That's what life is going to be about. We sometimes have to take it for the team. So how are they going to learn if we just shelter them all the time? And yeah, it might upset you a little bit more, but that's what raising kids is about, I think.
But it does depend too, I think, on the child. I think you need to know your kids. Because if you have a child who's more immature or who is not well behaved out in public, you probably don't want to bring that kid to the funeral home or to the...
That's true.
So you really do have to look at your kid
have to.
and gauge whether or not it would be an appropriate experience. You really do.
Because you don't want it to be destructive.
And it's not age, it's about the individual kid.
Right.
Yeah, you really do.
So many choices that we make.
I mean, really, if you think about it, how many times have we said that exact statement, though, since we've been sitting here, about knowing your child? So you have to know your child in school. If your child is paired with a teacher that you don't think is going to help your child to grow, I mean, so many parenting choices are made best when you truly know your child.
Right.
And so parents who are making decisions that maybe are not having the effect they want are perhaps not really as cued into what their child's needs are. Not that, or maybe they're not as familiar with what their child would prefer. So, I mean, I think that it's our responsibility to get to know our kids so that we can make good choices for them.
And another part of that too, to add on to that, is that it's not about us, it's about them. A lot of times I think parents make decisions based on themselves, or it's somehow about them when they really need to step back and think about what's right for that child.
Well, what about like the death of a pet? Because we've had to
Yes,
deal
we've
with
had
that, and that has been, that was really hard, and for them to, because they didn't get to go when we took him to the clinic. We had to have him put down, and trying to explain why we were doing it, and then coming back without him, and it's funny because they didn't really understand at first, but then when he wasn't there anymore, they started to get it, that, he's never coming back. But it seems like they went with the flow of it. Like, they understood, they dealt with it in their own way, they talked about him, and we talked about him a lot. So, I feel like if you keep that open and you're able to talk, like, somebody dies and then you never mention them again, that's definitely the wrong way to go. I think that, just being able to talk or do something like the ladybugs, I love that.
And my daughter asked a lot, like when she's gonna die, she talks about that. Or she'll say something out of the blue like, well, if I die tomorrow, who's gonna take care of my goldfish? And so, and I always say to her, that you could die tomorrow, we don't know when we're gonna die, so we gotta make sure that every single day, we're the best people that we can be. I say that all the time. And so we talk about a matter of fact. Inside, I'm like, oh my, I don't know that she's talking about this. But I always try to be like, we don't know, but that's why we gotta make sure that we're loving and kind to one another. And she's like, okay.
That's when our dog died, and my oldest, a couple of years later, they were upset. And then a couple of years went by, and we got another dog, and my oldest cried when we got the new dog. Didn't want this new dog, and I'm like, what is wrong? Why do you want it? Because she's just gonna die. And so he was kind of associating the fact that, we have this brand new dog, it's a puppy, but it's gonna die. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't look at that. You've got to look at you've got a puppy, you've got time to spend. So he's gets it now, but a couple of years ago when we got her, he was just a mess.
And kids really pick up, I think, on the parents, how the parents are dealing with it.
Yeah.
So if your dog passed away and you were just beside yourself, your kids would probably be a mess.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of keep it together and just, not that you have to be fake.
You can find so many life lessons out of things that they say that might just be in passing, that you can turn into something. And today with my crazy back, I was in the car and Lucas said, well, I hope you don't have cancer. and I was like, yeah, I said, I hope I don't have cancer. I said, I'm pretty sure I don't have cancer though, so I think we're okay on that. And then the oldest said, well, so-and-so's father had cancer and he's dying. So then this actually became a conversation. So, and then the second one was like, well, you don't have cancer and you're not gonna die. You're gonna live forever, right, Mommy? So we had a little conversation about this, but, in the end, I think I just have to look at these opportunities to have a discussion that they can learn from, and that you can sort of comfortably discuss issues that could be kind of sensitive, that you wouldn't want to plan, but you need to have an open conversation, open dialogue.
Right.
So,
It's called a teachable moment.
a teacher.
You have to take those teachable moments and teach something because they don't always come around.